And that is what people see with the instrumentals. A big horrible thing is what happens with cognitive stimulation as your world gets smaller and smaller. And so this happens with a lot of older adults, but they can't leave their home comfortably. They might not be eating very well. They might be living in maybe unsafe conditions because of the home maintenance stuff. I mean, we once talked to a client who she only lived in 2 rooms in her house because all of the other rooms, the light bulbs had gone out, and she couldn't get up on a stool to like fix it. She didn't have anyone that could. And so your world will kind of get smaller. Your opportunities for cognitive stimulation start to get a little bit smaller. And then that can really advance physical consequences in your health. Going back to that horrible metaphor of the train, but that's going to speed up the train through like your journey through aging. And so if you can invest in things that slow it down and let you, you have a solution that can get you to the Moose Lodge is an example that we use internally at GoGo. There's this woman, her name is Rosemary. She always calls in and she tells you her age and her weight. She's 86 and she weighs 96 pounds. And she goes to the Moose Lodge and it's some sort of dancing thing. So she's setting up her life for that cognitive stimulation. That's going to keep her feeling young and going for a lot longer than if she hadn't made a decision to kind of invest in covering some of the gaps. And so there's research that goes into that. But I just wanted to share a little bit more about how those conversations have been going on in my own family and how I'm, it's extremely uncomfortable of a conversation to have and not for everyone. But that's how we've been thinking about it. And
what are some ways that you bring these conversations up? Because you're right. I mean, it's just how it's delivered. It's a sensitive subject on both ends. Acknowledging a decline, whether you're the older person, whether you're a child or a grandchild. I think this is where a lot of people screw it up. They either ignore it and don't talk about it, or they talk about it in a no, this is what you're going to do type of situation. What do you see as some best practices for that?
I think earlier is better, ideally before there's a problem. One easy way to do it is to start talking about like stuff that, end of life things like, oh, hey, like, I'm going through this, okay. So one example would be, I just got married recently, right? So I'm using my own life milestone and I'm leveraging that to start a conversation around a life milestone that my parents might have far, far into the future. So, hey, we just got married and like, we're thinking about our will, or we're thinking about I'm blanking on the name. There's like an end of life protocol where you can sort of fill it out. And even if you're not cognitively there, they'll follow the instructions, end of life resuscitation instructions. Maybe that's it. We can look this up. But so I was doing this myself and I realized like, hey, how do you want this to go for you? Do you want to be like on a machine and we'll just keep going until the doctors say no? Or do you want to like pull the plug? 90% of people do not want to be on life support for greater than 72 hours. 90% of people would prefer like, pulling the plug. And so it's an easy way to kind of bring up this thing that it's like, okay, it's far in the future. You don't have to worry about it now, but like, it is probably a preference. You won't be there to tell me. So what would you want like your resuscitation instructions to look like? And now you're talking about it. I think it's hard to give like a single piece of advice to any family because every family is so different, but there are these like different tactics that can come up. So one of them, leveraging your own milestone or someone else in your family's milestone to like bring it up with that person. I think a big thing to know is that by the time you're bringing something up with someone, they've noticed it. Like they're aware. They're not just being upset with you. They're also being upset with the fact that now like their secret is out and that someone's put words to it. And so some of that is like, okay, processing and shock. And then there's also this sense of like, man, so another tactic. Usually you're not overcoming like, Dad, why can you not see this? What you're trying to overcome is Dad is thinking to himself, okay, this is true, but what else do I have? Like, what am I going to do? Like, I have to ignore this because I have no other option. So another tactic is kind of in sharing a little bit more about other options.